What's up traders, welcome to Failure to Displace. In this video we're going to do a very quick walkthrough of this morning's London session on EURUSD, where I took a loss for the day. I entered too soon, my bias was correct. Unfortunately I got in too soon and took a loss. I'm not going to do a step-by-step breakdown like I usually do on this one because I have things to do today, I'm a little bit busy. I'm just going to give you a quick walkthrough of the two macros and the potential entries that were presented. I was monitoring dollar, so the Dixie index, the dollar index, to look for SMTs. Today I found we had a small SMT here, so we can see put in a lower high on the Dixie and a lower low on the euro at the same time. Now these two are inversely correlated, so when the euro puts in a lower low, the Dixie should put in a higher high. So this gave me the indication that we were going to go long. As soon as we closed over this fair value gap, I took that long. Now this was a major error because my criteria for entering in the macro is to wait for a liquidity sweep in the macro, then get taken in the wrong direction by the macro, and then enter on an inversion fair value gap. The inversion fair value gap I was entering on to go long wasn't created inside the macro, so it was prior to the macro, so I needed to wait for a liquidity sweep inside the macro hours. So the liquidity sweep was up high here, and then we had the bearish engulfing here. Now there was no SMT for this short trade, but we did have an engulfing bearish candle over an inversion fair value gap for a short trade, having generated relative equal lows at the bottom here. So that bagged 2R really nicely. So if I'd have been patient, I saw the SMT, got excited, started displacing higher on the macro. Obviously we had massive inefficiencies coming down. We've just swept two daily previous lows here. Let's just sort this out. So we had two relative equal lows on the daily candles. Just coming into London, we swept those. So I was like, oh, we are going higher. Unfortunately, it just got very giddy and entered too soon. The bias, having swept those lows, was correct because you can see we did have that displacement lower. This was the manipulation leg of the macro. We then did get a reversal trade inside the macro, closing over this first fair value gap. It's not an ideal entry, but there was a inversion fair value gap failed there. Again, we had SMT at the bottom, much clearer SMT this time. So the Dixie made a higher high, the euro made a higher low. So again, Dixie makes a high, we would expect under a inversely correlated market that the euro should have made a new low. So we should have come lower at this point on the euro, and we didn't. We made a higher high. So this is bullish SMT after sweeping liquidity, relative equal lows, so engineered liquidity, closure over the fair value gap, and away we go. I think if we jump up to the 2 minutes, it was actually a better entry on the 2 minutes. Where on earth are we? The closure over both of these fair value gaps on the 2 minutes. So there was two bullish stacked fair value gaps. We closed through it and then accelerated higher. So the long was the trade on this. If I'd have waited more patiently instead of getting giddy, I'd have still been able to take advantage of this trade. So it was bad analysis on my part. Coming to the second macro, this is going to jump all over again, isn't it? Oh god. The second macro we came into, there was no SMT that I could see with the Dixie, so we pumped down, creating a lower low, and we created a higher high in the Dixie. So they're still correlated here, but we can see a very large engulfing bullish candle over displacement. We've swept liquidity. We've come into this 1 minute order block. Bullish on the day because we have obviously swept those relative equal lows. It is Friday, so there is the TGIF entry, so the thank goodness it's Friday entry from ICT, where we are expecting a pullback, potentially 20 to 30% of the weekly range. So there is an entry on the second macro of the London hour, triggered into this one, and it's flown. Really epic trade. Would have bagged 2R easily, and just continues up now into New York. So let myself down by not following my rules this morning. SMT, which is what normally I don't use SMT if I'm honest with you, so introduced SMT into the mix, again maybe overcomplicating things, and paid the price for doing that. Over 10R up at the moment on that second entry. So really quick analysis, not clean today. I lost out right at the open of the macro, needed more patience, didn't follow my rules, so a little bit upset with myself for not doing that, although my bias was correct. So sweeping those lows, TGIF, pull back into the weekly range, all makes sense. So the bias was correct, my executions weren't on point today. And that is it for Friday's London session. I've lost the trade for the day, so I'm not entering into New York either. So I'm just out for the day now. We'll be back on Monday, hopefully, for a better session and maybe a little bit more self-control. Alright guys, I hope you found that useful. It's worth seeing what I've done wrong, as well as the potential setups for how things could have played out if it had all gone in our favour. If you found it useful, please drop the video a like. Comments, questions, just leave them down in the comment section below. And also, if you are interested in seeing more videos like this one, then please do consider subscribing. Dropping videos more or less every single day, or at least every time that I trade anyway. So by subscribing, you'll be notified as soon as one of my videos drops. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.